Hello, 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 Miami Dolphin fans. We are back. Welcome back to the Same Old Dolphins Draft Show. We are live streaming. We are here with David Behrman from ESPN. We are also joined by Daniel Behrman, not of ESPN, but he's still a very good person. We like him very much, even though he doesn't have the same credentials as his brother. It's okay. If you joined us, this was the four of us all together on the Same Old Dolphin Show pre-draft show that we did a couple weeks back, and we're all together here awaiting the news of what the Dolphins are going to do with pick 18. And the good news is here, as Vegas is on the clock, is that the vast majority of the guys that the Dolphins were thinking that we were all thinking were going to be available for the Dolphins at 18 remain available at this point. Kwity Paye still there, Zaven Collins still there, Najee Harris, Travis Etienne, Javonte Williams, obviously all still there, Azeez Ojulari, Gregory Rousseau, Kadarius Toney, if we wanted to go wide receiver again, Jason Owe, Christian Darrisaw, a lot of guys still available here. Let's go to Daniel first. Daniel, what are you feeling here with the Dolphins? Where do you think we're going here? You were a strong proponent of trading back here. What do you think?
Yeah, well, so first off, I'm super excited that we got an awesome playmaker at 6 there. You know, it's not Chase or Pitts, but I'm super excited that we got Waddle here. At 18, you know, I think we have options. We talked last time about some of the value in the offensive linemen, maybe even trading up for them. All the ones I liked are gone. So I think at 18, there really is 3 options here. There's the running back, and so it'd be great to take an ETN or a Harris right now. It'd be great to get I'm not going to try to pronounce his name, but the linebacker out of Notre Dame right now. We definitely have some need for athletic folks that can go sideline to sideline. And then, of course, getting, you know, our pick of edge rushing out there. So Zaven Collins is gone, but we have all of the different edge rushers. You know, they each have a wart, but they're each awesome. And so if we can get the top one on our board, I think any and all of those would be the game plan of sticking there. And, of course, trading back, given all of those options, is always an option, which I think would be really good at this value right now.
Yeah, so I'm really interested to see who the Raiders end up taking here so that we know fully who is available to the Dolphins and who is not available when we get there. David, how are you feeling about the Dolphins so far? Obviously, the pick of Jalen Waddle, I really liked. How did you feel about that, and how do you feel about what we're going to do here at 18?
I love the pick. I said when we were on the show a few weeks ago that if they get any of Pitts, Waddle, Smith, or Chase, I'd be happy. They need a playmaker. They need a wide receiver. Daniel told me the quote that Nick Saban said earlier, which is all over social media about it, you know, one of the best separators and accelerators they have out there. Like, they need playmakers. And now you can give Tua, Fuller, and Parker, and Gesicki, and Waddle, and you got guys out there. He's obviously familiar. They know each other. They played well together. And some of the numbers out there on Waddle are absolutely sick. If he's healthy, I think it's a no-brainer pick. I'm excited about it. The upcoming pick, you're absolutely right, Josh, other than Collins, who's about to go to Arizona in the second. Everybody else on the board is still there. I still stick with what I said. I know Aaron and I discussed this off air a few minutes ago. I still think you go with Najee Harris to get that running back. You got the connection already with Tua and Waddle, and you just make it. I mean, is there anything wrong with having 3 offensive Alabama players? I mean, you saw what I saw last year and the year before and the year before and the year before. I don't think there's anything wrong with what we watched. That being said, if they go Phillips or our boy from Notre Dame, I wouldn't be upset. I think both those guys are really good edge rushers the Dolphins need if they think they can get ATN in the top of the second round or maybe even trade into the bottom of the first to get that running back.
Yeah, that's the thing. Even if they don't pick the running back here, that doesn't mean that they're not taking one tonight. So,
holy smokes. What a shocker.
Hold on.
Alex Leatherwood.
David, that hits the Alabama prop.
Wow.
We win money.
There you go.
Alex Leatherwood was drafted to Vegas.
Yes, that's the fifth?
Dude, Gruden doesn't care what anybody's mock draft says.
Wow.
He could have gone in the 3rd round.
Is that the 5th officially?
Holy moly.
You still need Najee Harris to go in the 1st round.
So here we go.
Well,
the Dolphins are on the clock.
So here it is. You've got this kind of sets up to be
over.
You got potentially the dream scenario. The dream scenario here, you've got all three running backs on the board. You have the top edge rushers on the board. You could potentially get the best edge rusher on your board and still get one of those running backs, but it's risky because if you don't take the running back here, there's no guarantee that that one of those three will still be there at 36. You know you've got Pittsburgh. They've been linked heavily to Najee Harris. You still have Jacksonville and the Jets who have picks ahead of Miami. You still have Buffalo who could go running back ahead of Miami. And so it's dangerous. For my money, even though if we go edge rusher and we take the top edge rusher on our board, I'm not going to hate the pick because if you get the top edge rusher on your board and you still manage to get one of those three running backs, that is an absolute home run. You can't do better than that. But I think I play it safe here. We played the waiting game last year at running back. We tried to let the board play out, and it bit us in the butt, and we didn't get any running backs. We completely whiffed. I say take the guy on your board. If it's Najee Harris, great. If it's ETN, even if it's Williams, if that's the top guy on your board, then take it. Otherwise, I don't mind trading back a few picks, maybe to 22, and maybe picking up an extra third or fourth.
Pick's in already. Wow.
Pick is in. Wow. So we're going to find out in just a moment who it is. They had their eye on somebody. And
Dan and I always joke when our draft position for our fantasy league comes out. We like when we're around certain people we won't name on this show because we know we're going to get better picks. The Dolphins feel that way about being behind the Raiders. All right, we run up there. We got our pick.
So here we go. We're going to find out who this is, who the Dolphins have selected here. There was not a lot of waiting around here. So I'm very curious to find out who this pick is going to be. Are they going to go defensive? Are they going to go with, somebody that a lot of people think is one of the hottest prospects out there in Jalen Phillips? Are they going to go to another Miami connection with a guy like Gregory Rousseau? What do they do here? We're going to find out in just a moment. We're waiting for Roger Goodell to come down. Could they go Zaven Collins? Could they go Kwity Paye?
Collins did go to Arizona at 16.
Oh, he went to Arizona. My bad.
But you do have Kwity Paye. You do have both Miami guys. So you've got quite a few on the edge that are available. But they put this pick in. So here we go. So let's find out right now who the pick is. We're gonna give our little breaking news thing, and here we go. Who do we got?
Phillips is the pick. Here we go. Jalen Phillips is the pick.
It's all about the U, baby.
Hey, we got a good pick. I liked Harris, but this is a really strong pick. If I was going to pick any one of two defensive edge guys, I would pick Phillips. I'm actually happy with it.
Brain, talk to us a little bit about Jalen Phillips and what we need to know about him.
Look, I mean, he's arguably the best defensive player in the draft, but he's not without risks. Has had several concussions, had a medical retirement while he was at UCLA. So, look, there's certainly, if you didn't like the Jalen Waddle pick because you were worried about injuries and the Dolphins taking, damaged goods, well, Jalen Phillips is another guy that fits in that same bill. But that said, it is the high ceiling pick. It is an absolutely swing for the fences pick. Miami needed an edge rusher. They had the top two guys, whether it was him or Kwity Paye on the board. They took their guy. You can't hate him. You can't hate them for that. And the bottom line is, look, they got the top edge rusher on their board, and there is a solid chance that one of those three running backs falls to them at 36. And look, let's not also forget, if they start to see a run on running backs, they also could trade up. They could trade back up to ensure that they get the running back that they want. But this also shows me that they value the edge rusher position more than they value the running back position. And then also, maybe they value what they already have in Myles Gaskin. While Myles Gaskin is not going to be a bell cow, he was pretty darn good for this team last season. And so if all goes wrong and they end up whiffing and they don't get one of those 3 running backs, maybe they feel pretty good about what they already have with not only Myles Gaskin but also Savon Ahmed.
And I agree with you. I think that you have about 17 more picks before they pick again. 3 running backs would have to go. Not a lot of teams are picking running backs early. They still might get one. I did agree with you before about not necessarily playing the waiting game, which they did last year, but maybe they do have a plan to trade back up and get one. But if they're going to go defense, they made this pick about as quick as humanly possible, so they liked it. I have confidence that they did their homework and that he's going to be healthy and play. And, I mean, look, we're a few hours into the draft, and we got a stud wide receiver and a stud defensive end, so I'm happy.
Yeah, it's a great pick for the Dolphins. They're feeling really good. It's the gamble now. Now it's the gamble. What do they do? Do they wheel and deal? How badly did they want a running back? My suspicion is that the running back is not a position that the Dolphins are valuing super highly. I mean, you look at the way that they've sort of handled things in that when it comes to the running back position, they decided to bring in some veterans with Breida and Howard last year, and Gaskin sort of took control and took that job and ran with it. And so I don't know. The feeling that I get is that this is not an organization that is feeling super high on running back. And so I don't know that I expect them necessarily to make a trade up to get the running back. If somebody falls to them at 36, okay. But, I think they wanted to bolster the defense in an area that they needed to, and they've certainly done that here. And so they've positioned themselves well.
Yeah, and Josh, you got to also think about some things. This is not a Will Phillips perform to, first round pick 18 performance, right? This is a 5-star out of high school, right? That does not have a couple of ACLs in his past. He doesn't have a nagging ankle injury like what Waddle actually, had last year. He has discrete injuries. It was concussions, right? Now,
right.
Not to downplay a concussion, but they're not nagging injuries that are going to affect his performance. He needs to make sure that he's tackling the right way and he's taught the right way. Maybe he wears a special helmet, whatever it is. But it's not this injury could affect the way he performed type of guy. It's more of an availability concern. So he has the year he had at Miami this past year. He has that year in UCLA the year before. He's a top 10 pick. So the talent is there with Jalen Phillips. It's a great pick there. I also wouldn't be surprised. Remember, we've picked up and stocked up quite a bit of capital over the past couple of years. So it would not surprise me. The Jets are now out of the running for a running back, ahead of us. You do have Pittsburgh, you do have Tampa, Jacksonville, Atlanta. It wouldn't surprise me to sneak into 29, 30, something along those lines. You probably have to give up a 4, right? That's not a huge give up to if you really want that running back. My guess is you're not getting Phillips at 28, right? You're probably not getting that cream of the crop, the guy that they ran the ticket up to. You're not getting them at 28, but you can get one of those 3 running backs if you wanted to trade back up. And if not, then it's exactly what you and your brother explained, that they're just the value in the draft of it. Maybe they're looking at Javonte Williams, big brother, Michael Carter, and getting him in the bottom of the second or maybe even the 3rd round later on, because he also hit 1,000 yards in North Carolina, playing alongside Javonte, and so there's options. So we'll see as we get to the top of the 2nd round. But right now, as Aaron said, we've already got two picks on our way to a home run at the back end of the 2nd round and move this forward.
We're all fake GMs. Call it what it is. We all think we're GMs and we're not. All I know is the Miami Dolphins ran to the podium with that card. So
yeah, let's talk about that. Well, let's give some appreciation to Chris Greer for not milking the clock.
Right. So he was obviously their guy where we all thought maybe they could trade down, maybe they do this, maybe they do that. At the end of the day, the Miami Dolphins ran to the podium as fast as they could. So they got their guy. They didn't have to trade up. They weren't going to get him, like Daniel said, if they traded down, they weren't going to get him there. If they truly want a running back, they have the capital to go get it. We'll see if they do that. If not, maybe they get someone in the top of the 2nd round.
And Josh, let's revisit that way we ended the last pod, right? This draft is a home run if, right?
That's right.
My answer was 2 to 3, really 3 because of the how high the second round pick is that we have, but 3 starters and some capital, I think is the home run, right? Well, they're sitting there with a starting receiver, right? There's a wide receiver 1 nonetheless, right? They're sitting there with a starting edge, right? The top edge on their board, and they're sitting there with a first round pick next year, right? So they've already pulled in quite a few, or I guess maybe it's 2023 first round pick, right? So they've already pulled in the capital, and they've got 2 starters. So far, home run.
Yeah, absolutely. And, as I mentioned in our previous live stream, what I mentioned that the 49ers drafted Trey Lance, who is a guy that the consensus is that he's going to sit on the bench all year long. So 49ers, whose first round pick we have in 22 is they're sitting, I'm not saying they're not going to try to make the playoffs, but the odds of San Francisco making a push to be a competitor in 22, not high. Dolphins.
I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, they were in the Super Bowl the year before last, and the only reason that they struggled this past year is because they were just devastated with injuries. So, I mean, they're afforded the luxury of drafting a quarterback at number 3 and having him sit on the bench for the entire season because they have the quarterback that just led them to the Super Bowl the previous year in Jimmy Garoppolo. So I'm not necessarily sold that San Francisco that is going to tank and we're suddenly going to have, a top 15 pick or anything like that. I don't know about that. But that said, look, I love what the Dolphins have been able to do. And look, they've like we've talked about, the dream scenario is right there. There are really 4 needs, and it was a pass catcher, an edge defender, a running back, and an interior offensive lineman. We don't know if it's the top pass catcher on their board, but it's one of the guys that they were obviously comfortable getting. Otherwise, they would have stayed at 3 and taken whoever. They were comfortable getting any of those pass catchers. That's why they moved to 6. They got the top edge rusher on their board for sure, and they're going to have they may potentially have a shot at getting one of those 3 running backs, and then we'll see what happens at 50. They may have a very good shot at either a Landon Dickerson or a Creed Humphreys to fill their center spot. And if those 2 guys are gone, Quinn Miners may be a little bit of a reach as a D3 guy with pick number 50, but there's a lot of upside there. He dominated at the Senior Bowl. They worked with him at the Senior Bowl. He's got the connection to them at having the same alma mater as co-offensive coordinator Eric Studesville. So I think that's your plan B if Humphrey and Dickerson aren't there at 50. But it's all there for you. If you get the running back at 36 and you still are able to hang on to number 50, if you don't have to trade up, I mean, that's a grand slam right there. Yeah. If you get all 4 of those guys.
Call me greedy. I've been called greedy before. Obviously, I wanted a lot of playmakers, but you're right. At the end of the day, we have identified the Dolphins need playmaker, edge rusher. They got a playmaker. They got their top edge rusher. The rest is icing on the cake. You hope they get a running back somewhere, or maybe another offensive lineman. But so far, you got to be happy. They also got, staying home, hometown kid. If he's healthy, this is absolutely a home run.
And let's Aaron, first off, you've done your research. I like it. Digging into the Senior Bowl performance. I love it. But let's not forget the age-old debate, right? Do I take the best player available, BPA, or do I fill a need, right? I think
if you can do both.
Dolphins did both twice, right? They obviously had Waddle, at the top of the board. They needed a playmaker. They had him at the top of the board, 2A, 2B, 1A, 1B, and the receivers. Who knows? They might have wanted him at 3 for all we know, right? We're never going to know that answer, right? And then it was well apparent by the way they ran to the stage that Phillips was the top guy on their board when they picked at 18. Both of them fit a need. Both of them seem to be best player available. Hard to argue with either of those, when you've got both of those, not once, but twice.
Yeah, so I think the overall takeaway at this point for the Miami Dolphins is, look, you can it's like kind of the perfect situation for the Miami Dolphins because you've got a bunch of people who are going to be really fired up and rightfully so about the picks that the Dolphins have made today. And because we're the Dolphins, you're also going to have a lot of people who are going to be pounding their chest and telling us that we shouldn't have drafted Jalen Waddle and we shouldn't have drafted Jalen Phillips because both of them have injury concerns and baggage that they're bringing with them. And so therefore these are they're real risks. And listen, with Jalen Phillips, the concussion thing, it's a high risk. We've, anybody who's a hockey fan knows that the Stanley Cup winner, Andrew Shaw from the Chicago Blackhawks, just had to retire from hockey at age 29 because of concussion problems. Obviously, hockey a little bit different game than football, but it's still a real concern. And if that is something that comes back and rears its head, the Dolphins could find themselves out that 18 pick and in trouble there. Jalen Waddle, obviously, a little bit of injury concern there as well, but I think for me, the upside on both of those guys are just so high that I just have a hard time walking away from this being disappointed with the picks that the Dolphins have made. So here is where we are. The Dolphins have made pick 6. They've made pick 18. But what we don't know is whether they are actually done for the evening yet. I'm kind of vamping and I'm trying to not sign off yet because I want to see what happens with this Indianapolis pick, because that's one of the places where I think if the Dolphins decided to trade back up into the first round, that's one of the places that they would have an opportunity to do that. So I'm kind of curious to see what happens here. So we're going to kind of stay tuned just for a little bit longer to find out what it is that the Colts decide to do. And, what's going on here? What David? Why are we chomping?
Kadarius
The
Toney.
New York Giants are taking Kadarius Toney. One more wide receiver, Dan. We need one more in the last 12 picks to be 2-0 tonight.
Yeah. So
Daniel and I took over wide receivers and over Bama.
Yeah, Josh, you want to stall a little bit, cover some things. We can talk a little bit about the draft props that David and I have been working on. So one of them is
let's do it. Yes, please.
Over 5.5 Alabama, right? So I think we all knew 2 receivers, Mac Jones, were a lock, right? So now we need, Najee Harris, you need Alex Leather, and Patrick Surtain's a lock, right? So you got 4 locks basically. So the question is, you get two more Alabama guys. Thank you.
The number
Las
was 4.5. 4.5.
Oh, so we already hit it. Thank you, Las
Vegas.
Thank you, Las Vegas.
It's over.
That's a big win.
Alex Leatherwood was not in my consideration set when we took that bet.
I did the counting while you guys were talking. Wait, Leatherwood, Mac Jones, receivers. Wait a minute. It already hit the 5. And then we need one more wide receiver in the next 12 picks, and we'll go 2-0 tonight.
And that
I want to hit on one other thing. And look, I feel really good. We obviously all feel really good about Miami, about what we've accomplished so far tonight. But look, there's a flip side. We can't just be all positive and love everything that we've done. You've got to look at it with a little bit of a critical eye. And there's going to be a lot of people that don't love the Jalen Waddle pick and really felt like there's a huge drop off from Kyle Pitts and Jamar Chase to Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith. I'm not one of those people, but there are a lot of people out there. And for those people, what they're going to be upset about is that the Dolphins, it's one thing to get everything that we got in the trade back to 12 with San Francisco, but then to give up an extra first-round pick and then do a pick swap with San Francisco for our first next year, essentially, we gave up a first-round pick to move up 6 spots to ensure that we got Jalen Waddle. So we really only picked up a 3rd-round pick to get, whereas we could have stayed at 3 and had our choice between all of the pass catchers. So if you think that there is a huge drop from Kyle Pitts and Jamar Chase down to Jalen Waddle, then that ends up being a pretty disastrous scenario. So if Kyle Pitts and Jamar Chase end up being, just these, generational talents as receivers or tight ends, and Jalen Waddle ends up being a bust, then that's going to look like, a pretty terrible pick, a pretty terrible decision to ultimately trade back and then trade back up to number 6, because all we really got out of it was an extra 3.
Now we got a 1-2. So remember, we got 2 1s. We got a 2022 and a 2023 from San Francisco.
Right, but we traded the 1 away.
We gave the 22 away. We still have the 23. So we netted a 1 and 23 and a 3rd rounder, and then a pick swap later on and got Jalen Waddle. So the trade-off from Chase and Pitts to your end, Chase and Pitts down to Waddle, what we got was a 1 and a 3, and we traded out, or went to the quote unquote next tier, maybe, Aaron, and then we pick swap later on, right? We did move down like 40 spots from 4 to 5, so that was a cost as well. But we did net.
I'm with you. I'm not one of those guys. In fact, I was back and forth between Chase and Waddle as far as which guy I had higher on the board. At the end of the day, I preferred Chase because I thought that Chase was the safer option. But I think Waddle, I mean, to me, they're in the same tier, so I was happy with it. But for those Dolphin fans that do feel like we really missed the boat by missing on those two players, I think it bears mentioning that was a risky move that we made, trading out of 3 and then giving up picks to move up to 6, and we'll see if it pays out as far as the difference in the players between Chase and Pitts, and then with what we ultimately ended up with Jalen Waddle.
Yeah,
I don't think the Dolphins make the trade if they don't want Waddle. If they really wanted Chase or Pitts, they would have stayed at number 3. They wouldn't have traded down to 6. And
I agree with that.
At the end of the day,
that's
what they wanted.
I think they were comfortable with either, and that's why I think they saw like, this is a spot where we're guaranteed to get one of our guys. We don't know exactly which one it's going to be, but we're going to be happy with whoever it is, and we're going to pick up the extra draft capital and still get one of our guys. And that's what happened.
Absolutely. I agree with you, Aaron. That had to be the mentality. Otherwise, you don't trade out of 3. Right. I mean, there were thoughts that they would trade back out of 6 again if someone wanted to come up for another quarterback. You'd have to give up the mother load to do so. But there were thoughts about that. But I don't think you trade out unless you're secure that you're going to get one of the guys you want. So I feel good that the Dolphins had Waddle somewhere close to 3. At the end of the day, what they really needed, though, is they needed not just a playmaker, right? They needed someone that can stretch the field, that can take the top off of the defense, to open things up for the running game. And as David hammered in the last podcast, we had the worst separation statistics from our receiving core in Gesicki last year. There's nobody better, according to Nick Saban, best he's ever seen at separation and getting out of breaks and everything. So he's exactly what we need. You have to think that the Dolphins aren't moving out unless they actually really do. I don't think they settled for Chase, but I do agree. I was texting David, behind the scenes afterwards. It's like, there's now going to be the argument, since Chase didn't fall, since Cincinnati took Chase, there's now going to be the argument, did they screw themselves with the trade? So you're right that it's not necessarily all sunshine and rainbows, but on the flip side, I do think making out with Waddle and a 1st round pick and a 3rd round pick, I think nets out pretty darn good.
Yeah, so that's where we're at, and it looks like the Colts are, in fact, going to be making a pick here. So the Dolphins that are, at least not at this point, trading back up into the 1st round. It's still a possibility that they might do that, and if they do, we will hop back on with another live stream for you this evening. But for now, it's time to wrap it up. As always, make sure that you are following Dolphins Talk on Twitter, at Dolphins Talk. Make sure you're following us, at Amplified to Rock, at Aaron the Brain, at Behrman Daniel, at D Behrman ESPN. Make sure that you're subscribed to the Dolphins Talk YouTube channel, and visit manscaped.com. Use the promo code Dolphins Talk, save 20% off, and you can get free shipping as well. It's good stuff. It's good stuff for you over there. As always, thank you for joining us. This will be available in podcast form tomorrow morning. As I mentioned, if you're listening to this in podcast form, whether or not there's another segment coming up after this. And if you are watching live, thank you so much for joining us. We will be back tomorrow night as the Dolphins make picks at least as of now. The Dolphins are going to be picking at 36 and 50, and we will be back reacting to those picks tomorrow night as well. So we look forward to you joining us again for that. So everybody take care of yourselves and each other, and we'll talk to you again next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Go Dolphins!
Dan and my parents are watching, so we'll say hi.
Oh, hey. Hi, Mr. and Mrs. Behrman. Been a long time. How are you? Take care.